It is commanding the process and its role and its regulatory advantage, which is the gradually transformations in the defining association and it's a gradually responsibility, which is the defining and it's a part of the approach. How it is the revolving, which is the gradually transformations and its inclusivity for the different challenges, which is the working and its condition about different coordination and its influential structural, the resource efficiency, which is the different influential and its institutionalization for the gradually transformation, how to different evolutionary and it's growing for their regulatory transformations, which is the institutional influential association, the navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity and challenges for their different ability and its inclusivity for the different challenges for their working capacity. It is the challenges, which is the different role in its regulatory for their evolutionary and challenges for their capacity requirement, which is the phase and its evolutionary for their challenges and its capacity for the different regulatory and its efficiency, how to defining and its institutional association, which is the navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the different insecurity about their procedures, which is the gracefully responsibility when you have not authenticity of any security and it's a associated for their neutral association, the referendums and its insecurity about the procedures and the influential association, which is the neutralization, the different segments of the influential association and its coordination, which is the influential part of the approach and different growing and its institutionalization for their procedures efficiency, how to neutral efficiency, which is the gracefully and its a responsibility for the associated of the neutralization, the process and it's a gracefully responsible, which is the hidden of the transformations and it's in ideologically and it's part of the approach, the gracefully responsibility and it's it is the procedures, which is the influential and its associated for the neutral efficiency, the growth and its orientation of the society, how to inclusive advantage, the resources about defining and its institutionalization for the gracefully responsibility. It is a partially referendums and its insecurity about their procedures and its efficiency for their gracefully responsibility, the challenges for their effective part of the approach and different referendums and its insecurity about their procedures, how to different neutralization and its procedure for their influential part of the approach and different growing and its influential association and its navigation for their systematic and its orientation of the society, the procedures about different coordination and its strategically defining, which is the influential and its associated for their gracefully responsibility. It is hidden of the transformations, growth and its orientation of the society, how to different neutral efficiency and its challenges for their effective part of the approach and different segments for their influential and its associated association and its navigation for the interruption and challenges, which is the cooperative advantage supplementary of the society and how to different navigation and its inclusivity for their challenges, which is working capacity for their neutral efficiency, the balance of the socialization, how to different political association and its navigation for their surveillance of the inclusivity, the challenges for their defining and its associations for their different regulatory of their transformation, the growing and its influential part of the approach, how to navigation and systematic, which is the influential and its associated for their neutral efficiency, which is the regulatory of their transformations and its core and its effective part of the approach, which is the surveillance of the desirable concept about their lateral efficiency in different geopolitical association and its navigation for their crucially approach about the procedures about their influential and its how to navigation of the systematic and its partially referendums for their inclusivity. It is the challenges, how to defining and its associations for their navigation, which is the different ability of the responsibility, the coordination and its defining for their different advantage, how to resources about their gradually transformation and different coordination of technology, achievements about the production link incentive, which is the helping for the production of different electronic goods in different categories, which is the benefits by the central government and the public and private enterprises, you know what, you know already about how to they incentivize the process of different schemes, which is the emerging of different sector and its stakeholders, which is the participation and its achievements about their coordination, how to defining and it's a partially growing and its influential association. But you know what, it is the gradually transformations and it's a procedures about different strategically efficiency, the coordination of different participation of working and it's basically for their transformation gradually includes for the participation and its working capacity for their neutralization, the different navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the ecologically prosperity of how to navigation of different strategically adversity requirement and its face for the sensitive and its requirement for the different phenomena, the institutional structural and its process for their regulatory and transformations for their defining and its associated for their neutral efficiency, the gracefully and transforming the association and its navigation for their systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity for their challenges working and its capacity for their requirement and thinking about their gracefully responsibility, which is the hidden of the ideologically, which is the transforming the structural, the navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity for their challenges, how to navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity and challenges for their defining and its associated part of the approach. It is the systematic and its ideologically, which is the supplementary of the ideologically, which is the partially and its insecurity about different procedures and its efficiency for their dynamic institutionalization, which is the referrals and its insecurity about different procedures and its efficiency for their different ability and its gracefully responsibility, which is the hidden of the transformation and its defining for their associated neutral efficiency. It is the procedures about different growth and its orientation of the social and its evolutionary for their challenges, which is the coordination and its defining for their association, the navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity, the challenges for their defining and its associated for their neutralization, which is the growth, the orientation of the society, which is the balance for the different procedures, appreciation of work and the procedure for their differentiation and its inability for their social and its evolutionary for their challenges, which is the working and its capacity for their requirement and thinking about the gracefully responsibility, how to navigation and systematic, the partially referendums and its insecurity about their procedures, the referrals and its insecurity about the different role and its regulatory of the transformations, the core values and its institutional structural, how to challenges and its coordination and its mindset about their ability, how to sustainable approach about their efficiency, the growing and its influential as structural for their procedures about their working capacity of the neutralization, which is the gracefully responsibility, hidden of the transformation and its growth and its balance for their referendums and its insecurity about different procedures and its inability for their referrals and its insecurity about the defining and its associated and its part of the approach, how to different navigation and systematic and its partially referendums for their insecurity, the procedures about their efficiency and dynamic institutional and structural defining and its associated and its part of the approach, how to different revolutionary for their society and its inclusivity for their challenges, the different ability of the revolutionary and its growing for their partially and its referendums for their insecurity, the part of the approach and its gracefully responsibility, which is the challenges for their capacity and its requirement for the different building and structural of the society. It is the association and its navigation for their systematic and its partially referendums, which is the social and its evolutionary for their challenges, which is the gracefully and its responsibility for the different associations, which is the participation in its primitive cultural, the sensitive and its associated for their neutralization and its gracefully responsibility, which is the hidden of the transformation and its ability about the role and its regulatory for their transformational and its institutional association and its structural for their regulatory and its influential association, how to different challenges, the capacity of the requirement and its finding for their prosperity, The institutional, structural, and its prosperity about different distinguish of the transformations. The gracefully responsibility and hidden of the transforming the association and its structure for the different regulatory and its influential association for the sensitive part of the approach. How to different ability and its functional for their associations and its navigation for the systematic and its partially referendums, which is the insecurity about the part of the approach, and how to coordination, which is the influential association for their navigation and its systematic way and challenges for their efficiency. How to generating and its growing for their challenges, which is the different ability and its balance for their regulatory and its challenges for their efficiency. It is the challenges when we gracefully and its inclusivity for the different regulatory and transforming the structural for the regulatory and its conservative mindset and its process for the regulatory and its advantage. How to navigation and systematic, which is the partially and its association. The different navigation and systematic and its partially referendums, which is the inclusivity for their challenges. How to different political instability and its working for the different developmentals and its requirement for their phase and its orientation. The different phase and its orientation for their navigation and its systematic and its gracefully responsibility, which is the parts which is part of the approach. How to defining and its associated and its partially referendums for their insecurity and its gracefully responsibility. The different role in its regulatory of the transformations and its gracefully responsibility for their hidden of the transforming association and its navigation for their role in its regulatory for their efficiency and its gracefully transformations. How to different challenges and its capacity for their requirement and thinking about the gracefully transforming the association and its neutral efficiency. The procedures about their working capacity of the neutralization, procedures about different capacity of the evolving process and its regulatory for their efficiency, which is the different binding of the process and how to gracefully transformations for their neutralization and its a part of the approach. How to different navigation for their systematic and its ideologically, which is the referendums and the insecurity about their procedures and its evolving for their gracefully responsibility. It is the challenges and its a working capacity for their neutralization, which is the part of the approach. How to different challenges and its capacity for their neutral efficiency. It is the balance for their regulatory and transformations for their defining association, which is the different capacity of the requirement and its phase and its orientation of the society, which is the inclusivity and challenges, which is the defining and its association for their different navigation and systematic and its working capacity for their neutral efficiency, which is the regulatory and transformations for their defining and its associated for their different regulatory of the efficiency, which is the challenges and its capacity for their requirement and thinking about the core values and the systematic of the ideologically, which is the different ability of the working cultural and its procedures about different association and its navigation for the systematic, which is the influential in its part of the approach. How to navigation and its growing for their influential structural, the different growing and its navigation for their systematic and its orientation of the social and its evolutionary for their challenges, the capacity of the requirement. How to different navigation and its inclusivity, which is the evolutionary for their challenges, which is the capacity requirement and its phase and its orientation of the different efficiency, the gracefully transforming and the structural and its role in its regulatory of the transforming the association and its navigation and its part of the approach and its regulatory for their transformations and its core values and systematic of the ideologically, which is the different phenomena of the structural and its regulatory for their efficiency and its core and its efficiency for their neutralization. How to different challenges and its capacity for their neutral efficiency. जो भी हो रहा है अच्छा से हो रहा है, देखने में तो मज़ा आ रहा है लेकिन कहने में बहुत बुरा लग रहा है। इसी तरह से मेरा इंग्लिश कन्वर्सेशन चल रहा है। अब देखो आगे क्या क्या होता है कि कैसे मैं इसको इम्प्रूव करता हूँ और कैसे अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ों को इसमें इन्वॉल्व करता हूँ, इंक्लूड करता हूँ और ज़्यादा मज़ेदार बनाता हूँ। लेकिन इसके लिए मुझे बहुत सारी चीज़ों को सीखना पड़ेगा, बहुत सारी स्किल्स को डेवलप करना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद मैं इस सारी चीज़ों के इंटीग्रेट कर कर और आपके सामने पेश करूँगा, तब जाकर थोड़ी सी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ेगी, तब जाकर थोड़े से लोगों के पास रीच पहुँचेगा। क्योंकि मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इस तरह आकर बकवास करने से कोई रीच आएगा, मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इस तरह से आकर कैमरा उठाकर बकर बकर बोलने से कोई रीच आएगा, बट आई विल ट्राई बेटर टू बेटर डे बाई डेज। ओके।